they decided to do away with the bridge and run the railway where it is now through the tunnel and into Haworth that way. So that's why that was like that. If you want to come in and have a look at the booking office, it's quite a wonder of the age. Bear in mind, we try to keep this as close as possible to a typical Edwardian country station. So if you want to come into the booking office, I'll show you what I mean. So everything is still in use. Everything's exactly as it was, or more or less exactly as it was. The only concession to the 21st century is the fact that we've got an electric till, and that's the only piece of electrical equipment in the station. All the lights work by gas. Let me just aren't they? So yeah, the thing over here holds the tokens that the drivers need when they're moving trains along the line. You can't move a train on any section of the railway unless you've got a token, because it's a single track, and you don't want two engines in the same piece of track. So the driver has to have a token to operate the part of the railway that he's operating. And this particular machine, it has a connection through to the signal box, and if somebody wants to take an engine into the goods yard here, then they have to have a token to do that, so that the signalman knows that the token's out, and they can't allow anybody else into this area whilst the other train's in the station yard. The bell over there is the block bell that signals the signalman that the train has left the station, or if the train's coming from the signal box, he'll ring the bell from his end and signal ding da ding, and that says the train's on its way. The driver's called George and he's got cheese and onion sandwiches, whatever. So that's how we communicate. We've got telephones there, which again, pretty old candlestick type telephone, but it's a perfectly serviceable thing. And then we've got the other internal telephone system, which still works, but that works on a different system. You press it so many times for whichever station you want, and the person at that station will then pick up the telephone. The old tickets are on there. Again, we don't use those nowadays, but they're there for display, and then you can see all the different sorts of things that they used to transport from this station. Live chicks, sausages, I think that's more live chicks, pigeons, hat boxes there. So all sorts of things used to come through this station. I mean, basically at that time everything was moved by train, because you'd no wagons and cars and things like that. So that's the office. So we'll go and have a look next at the ladies' room. If you've seen the Railway Children film, this actually was the office, Mr. Perks's office, when they made the film. But again, it's gas-lit. And you can see the picture there with Jenny Agutter and Sally Consett and Gary Warren in the original film. benches, that one says MR on it, Midland Railway, and the one that you're sat on there says O and IJR, which is Ockley and Ilkley Junction Railway. And that came from Berlin Wharf when the station closed back in the 1960s, I think it was. If you want to come and have a look in the ladies' loo, you'll see an original toilet by Thomas Crapper and Sons.
Oh, nice.
Exactly, yes.
I mean, that's actually quite a nice toilet. Very appropriate.
One of the very few people who's had a bird named after him.
Yeah, that's rude.
Hello.
What are you doing? There's no one going there for a reason.
I like the red thing at the top. The system.
Okay, we'll have a wander down the platform now. Thankfully we've got some fine weather for this afternoon, so... All the signs have been resurrected from various different railway stations at various times. Well, they're all authentic, and the cottage over here on the right hand side was Mr. Burton's cottage, the railway building built. And if you look at the end of it, you can see that at one time there was another cottage attached to the side of it, and that's because this row of cottages up here before the railway was built extended all the way down to that one. That was actually the end cottage, and when they put the railway through, the railway company organised with the owners of the cottages, which was Vale Mill just down there, and promised that they would replace all the cottages that they took out, which they did by building these, which are much bigger than the ones that they actually demolished. But the chap who was chairman of the railway company at that time was Sir Isaac Holden, who was the MP for Shipley, lived just up the road at Oakworth Park, and he was supposed to be the richest man in Parliament at that time, so he could afford to just indulge the mill owners. I think the mill owners were actually related to him anyway, so he was able to spend a bit of the railway brass indulging in his friends or relations in building some new houses for them. The crossing gates are operated on a separate system. The crossing keeper here has the busiest job in the railway, because not only is he the crossing keeper, he's also the station master, he's the cleaner, he's the booking clerk, he's everything. And he's got to operate you'll see him when he's notified that there's a train coming, he'll dash down to the signal, see it, I'll take you a little bit closer in. What he has to do when a train comes, he's got to open each of the crossing gates. Now, when he opens each of the crossing gates, he can take out a key, which then slots in, one in each to these little slots here, which then allows him to operate this lever, and when that's gone forward, he can then operate one or other of these levers depending on which way the train's going. But it can only operate one signal. Now, back in the days when it was a working, fully functional railway, this was actually a double track along here, and there was a signal box where that little black hutties that was taken out in 1957, and this ground frame has been used ever since. But if you look up at the signal down to us here, you'll see that it's got two signal posts, even though one of them's only actually got a signal on it, and that was so that there's a separate signal for each track, so that if there was a train sat in the station, you could run another train round it to go to wherever it was going. So it's all good stuff. There was actually an accident which occurred as a result of work going on in this station back in, I think I'm right in saying 1895, and very early in the morning they brought a goods train up here, and the driver offloaded a couple of the coaches and left, or a couple of the goods wagons, and left them to go and pick another goods wagon up out of the yard. And there was a guard and a young apprentice boy in the guard's van, and they got off to help, and then they suddenly realised that the trucks were running backwards down the hill. So the guard tried to jump on, well he did jump on and tried to tighten the brake up. The brake wouldn't tighten up, the brake wasn't strong enough, so they just carried on rolling down the hill. Now the guard and his mate had shunting poles, so they tried to shove the shunting pole between the wheels. The guard's shunting pole snapped, and the apprentice lad couldn't get his to work anyway, so he had to keep hold of his. The driver now realised what's happened and starts setting off after these two trucks with the engine, and very bravely the young apprentice boy jumped onto the front of the buffer beam on the front of the train and tried to hook it with his shunting pole to get it back to come back to the train, but all to no avail. Got down to Ingro where the tunnel is, and the trucks went into the tunnel, and the engine went after them, and as quite correctly the driver sounded his whistle to let them know that, to let the station staff know that the train was coming into the tunnel. And the chap on the platform at Ingro had only been working there a couple of weeks. He thought that meant that the train was wanting to come through, so he switched the points. So instead of switching the points into the station yard, which would normally have happened, he switched it straight through to the main line, and the end result of it all was that the two trucks ran smack into the back of the Bradford to Combe train in Keighley station. And it's an absolutely, of course they were all wooden coaches in those days, and the back coach was smashed to matchwood. Fortunately there was nobody in it and nobody got injured, but yeah, that was a serious accident, and as a result of that the railway safety procedures had to be tightened up as a result of that accident. Okay, we'll go to the other end. Again, all the lights on the station are gas lights, and they're set to come on at when it goes dark, so it all gets lit up by gas. You see the milk churns there. That was very important business for the railway, was sending milk out from the local farms. And then the really big commodity that was transported through the railway from this station was stone, and the quarries up at Hainworth, and the stone was brought in on heavy carts through the gates here and put on the weighbridge, and they knew how much the carts weighed, so therefore they could deduct the weight of the carts from the weight of the stone, and so they could book the correct weight onto the trains. Still works with this thing apparently, so I'm told. Can you lift a ton? Have a try. That's a ton weight. Of course, it's all counterbalanced on the scales here, and they knew exactly. Yeah, that's a ton weight. Believe it or not. So, in here is where the booking clerk would sit here. The machine there recorded everything that came out. He would write on the card the weight of each consignment, and then it would be put in the machine. He'd wind the handle round, and that would time it and date it for whatever time it was. And you can see the photographs here, which were taken from the filming of both of the Railway Children films. In fact, those are both Railway Children Return. But, that one there is William Mervyn, and the guard is Graham Mitchell, who was one of our volunteers on the railway at the time and still lives in Oakworth. And these are all outtakes from various bits of filming. You can see how many members of camera crew and all sorts of things were involved in filming these things. We will one day get these all put in proper order, but at the moment that's the station. That's the original Railway Children film with Lionel Jeffries. And more outtakes from the Railway Children Return. And that's from the original Railway Children as well. The engine there is now in Haworth Shed being refurbished and put back into working condition. And that's a picture of the wagon that acted as Abe's hideaway in the Railway Children Return. Okay, we'll go and have a look at the goods shed. The tea hut here, by the way, is a replica of the coal manager's office from Swansea Docks Station. The train there is the original Midland Railway 5-ton train. Come on, train.
Well, you're easy to.
That would be used for loading stone onto the back of the train, sort of thing. If you've seen the Railway Children film, you might remember that at one point the boy Peter is pinching coal from the coal pile on the railway station. And if you look at the dry stone wall there, you can see where it's been rebuilt at some point. That's because that's where Peter had to climb over the wall to get to the coal pile. That's why it's looked completely different, but they had to put it all back together when they finished the filming. And this is the, well, it's described in the original railway book as a luggage shed, but as you can see it's really a good shed. We've got the steam crane in there at the moment, and just step in here and I'll show you something you might be surprised with. You may think that electricity works with switches and gas doesn't, but if you switch this down you will find that the gas lights work by switch.
I want some gas lights.
Yeah, that's sit and work at the flat.
The two pushbacks, one at the front here was used in the Railway Children Return. The other pushback at the back wasn't used in any filming, but the interesting story about it is that apparently, and this is a story by the no less than the Deputy Lord Lieutenant of the West Riding of Yorkshire, it was last used on VE night in 1945 by his Auntie Irene, riding it down Cavendish Street, Keighley, wearing nothing but a Union Jack. And you also get a little idea here of some of the stuff that used to get shipped by rail, the tea, apples, all sorts of things. I mean, everything, as I say, everything really at that time. If it was movable, it was moved by rail, because that was the only form of transport they had. So that's Oakworth Station, ladies and gents. I hope you've enjoyed it.
It was great, thank you.
That's it. On to a slice of tour. Bye for now.